Sandman Nation, welcome in. It is the St. Louis Syndicate. I'm Nate. He's Brandon, and we're here to share with you our thoughts on the AL East baseball preview. Brandon, I was just thinking, the guys over at InnerSandmanSports.com podcast, yada yada, um,
Exactly.
they got some great intro music. You think
They
everybody could
do.
help us out and teach us how to do that? They've got these techie guys, Craig, working for them, and you think they'd be like, "Hey, Syndicate, you guys need some help with your music or something?" No, no help. We'll figure it out.
That's probably a good idea. We probably leverage some help and figure out how to get some St. Louis,
Yeah.
music that kind of under underskirts what we have going on here.
Should we go Nelly, Air Force One? Should we put it out to the listeners and have them vote?
Yeah, yeah. If anybody's got good ideas, we're definitely open to it.
Our
You have to
theme
find some
music.
sort of sound alike, sort of, but like,
Yeah.
reminds people of what it is to eat really thin pizza, and
Yeah, there
drink
you go.
Bush Light.
Cold, cold bush lights. Like it.
Yeah,
Outstanding. Well, hey, this one's the AL East, and starting out right here, you'll see guys. We've got our DraftKings over under numbers on the page. You've got the 24 win results over on the left, and these are who we kind of like. And you'll see I've got my green hat on today for St. Patty's Day. Brandon's got his Sandman gear on. We're all
yeah.
fired up. Yankees, what do you think about the Yankees? Let's start at the top. 91 and a half wins, Brandon. You got any thoughts?
I think I think it's gonna be close with them taking the injuries lately. I think it brings them down a little bit. I don't think it hurts them as much as like the Yankees fans think it hurts them. Though,
Yeah.
when you're a Yankees fan, like you're kind of a World Series or bust, and losing Cole and Stanton, probably puts a little bit of a ceiling like that. But 91 and a half still feels like it's close, but I've leaned towards the over.
Yeah. Um, Stanton's been injured a lot.
Yeah,
He's been in and out. If we look, his back half of his career, he's in year 14 now. His back half of his career reminds me a lot of Ken Griffey's when he went to the Reds. Just loaded with potential, still putting up some decent numbers, but honestly, the injuries have prevented him from becoming an all-time great, which he was on that trajectory for. And at 35, I think he's definitely on the downside. You hate seeing Cole out. That's not good. Losing him for the entire year is just going to be a problem. I think
yeah,
for the Yankees, my opinion is it's all about the arms. Um, their arms, when you talk about power rankings, they don't have anybody really in the top 25. Max Fried sneaks in right there on the edge, and
yeah,
and really that was a good pickup for them. Him and Rondon are going to anchor this thing, but they're playing some good teams. We're going to talk about these teams coming up here in a few minutes. 91 feels like it's about right. I would not play either over or under here. And those
no,
of you that haven't listened before, the dollar signs, that's somebody I got a little cashola on myself. Yankees were not one of those plays. Last year, the Yankees came in and had a nice 102 win season. It's hard to say they're going to be 10 games worse, but I think some of the other players in the division actually are going to snake some of those wins away from them. And that's kind of my 2 cents on the Yankees.
yeah. I tend to agree. I think that they are probably looking at coming a little bit back to the pack. It does seem wild to go. They're gonna win 10 less games with having the offensive power that still exists for them. But you're right. Like, me being more of a pitcher's sort of guy, and just seeing that they kind of have these collection of guys that were something and could be something. And with Cole out, you always have the opportunity for a fifth pitcher to get in there, maybe pop and take a
Yeah.
run. But it just seems like there are so many um negative tails to that it's risky just going, hey, I definitely think that they're just going to hit that 92 games.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, 92 seemed right. The Orioles, on the other hand, at 87 and a half. Last year, young team, man, a lot of rookies, a lot of first year guys, really came on and played the game well and had 91 wins. I really only see them going forward. I actually see they're going to contend for the division this year. Their number one draft picks are going to play. I did some counting. They have seven number one draft picks in their projected lineup and a number two, and the number two happens to be Gunnar Henderson. Um, that is some young talent in that crew, and they're dangerous. When you hear names like Gunnar Henderson and Adley Rutschman, Colton Cowser, Jackson Holliday, even taking a look into their pitchers, their pitchers are solid with Zach Effin, and actually Grayson Rodriguez, who's a little banged up right at the moment, but he's a top player as well drafted. They've got some homegrown talent, kind of taking the needle from years ago when the Royals came in, won the World Series. They had all that homegrown talent, and then of course it fell apart because they couldn't pay everybody.
Sure.
Um, but I think the Orioles are right there, and they're poised to go over. Their youth is going to be their Achilles heel as well as their driving factor, right? There's a whole lot of guys in here that are going to have some pressure to perform. We'll see how they do. That youth on their side is not great, but they also have a strong minor league system to trade, and I really think that they should look to trade for an ace. I think this team is an ace away from making a deep playoff run.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that I think they're a year away. When I look at it, and I kind of came to the the same thing jumped off the page to me, and I came to the opposite conclusion, that I think that when you have this many young guys coming in and the way that their season went last year, where they came kind of, there were no expectations. They exploded, they get all the way, they run through, they hit the playoffs, and then everything falls apart. And you
Yeah.
go, okay, we'll just run it back next year. And so often that, especially in baseball,
Oh,
just doesn't work.
it's hard.
You have one or two just lingering injuries through the year, and it just kind of undermines everything coalescing. And I do think that you're exactly right that they're going to have to go out there and decide, here are the guys we're going to keep, and here are the guys that are going to get shipped somewhere, so that we can kind of get a couple of the veteran pieces that are going to allow us to get to the top of the mountain as far as winning the AL
Yeah.
East and being able to kind of go into the playoffs. So for me, I'd be on the under this year, but I think that it will be an exciting year, that they will kind of finish this build on the team, and next year they're going to be an issue for everyone.
I like that take. I don't have any, of course I disagree with it a little bit only because I'm
Sure.
on the over and I'm
Right.
on it. But it when you talk about young guys, it can go either way. And so I'm very much in agreement that's a possibility that can happen. I think that some veteran leadership could be beneficial on that team, and maybe a big arm could do something there. We'll see how that goes. I'm kind of on the range, to your point of 1 year away, where the Red Sox are. Um, their number at 86 and a half. I'm not necessarily in love with 86 and a half, but I I don't want to. I would not play the over. I don't think they're going to go over that number. It's probably a little heavy. The under feels more like it because I feel like they're a year away. They've got some young talent that is still developing, and the minors that's coming. And this Mayer and Teal and Anthony, Roman Anthony is a stud. They've got some of these guys that are coming. They're going to dabble. They're going to play this year. They've got some decent talent though in the ranks with Alex Bregman, Rafael Devers, Rafael. I mean, they're not a bad team. Trevor Story. I see them struggling though, just overall, because I think they have very weak bench, their depth is troublesome if the young guys are not ready, like they say. If they have to bring young guys up, are they going to put them in a situation, or will they respond like the Orioles did last year? I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to see. I'm saying
Yeah,
under 86, though.
I I would be on the under as well. It's hard for me to go. I kind of feel like the entire division is going to be depressed. And I, none of the, we kind of, each one of these, I kind of go, we're right there, but I kind of feel like the under. And this is just kind of the third one where I go, I don't think they have fixed the overarching culture that has went around the team
Mm,
that still is like the echo of Mookie leaving. And I feel
yeah.
like they're going to need a year where that comes together and you go, okay, now we kind of got it going and we're playing as a big team and it's going well, and then the jump the next year, we could get a Baltimore style jump where, hey, we're not really seeing much, and then they kind of explode in the regular season. They have the front end of the lineup. They have the front end of the rotation. It's got the back of the bullpen handled if those guys stay healthy. But it seems like every time you're watching the team play, they're just all of last year was just like playing in quicksand, and it was like it didn't feel like they had that culture that had been going on for the last 20 years basically now.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, we're gonna have to wait and see on them. I'm really convinced of that. That
Yeah,
I agree that culture's been weak, and they've got a few injuries out there. Yashada's a big shot to them as well, being out, and he's hadn't even in spring training been able to touch really any kind of warm-ups or depth after his surgery last October. So we'll see how that goes.
yeah.
Um, rounding things out, the Rays. When I was doing my research on the Rays, I actually was kind of entertained by this team. Do I think they're going to go over 81 wins? Probably not. I think they're probably right at 81, but they're kind of young and youthful. There's not very many guys on the team that have much service time in the league. Their stats aren't bad. They're they're very young and youthful. They don't have a lot of depth from pitching perspective. They got a couple of young guys that do pretty good. Taj Bradley and Shane Baz are going to really have to step up. Those are some top guys. But no matter what, and this is the point that you were making earlier when you said this is a middling division, how are we going to get this whole powerful AL East? Why are we thinking they're going to go under? They're beating up on each other.
Well, for
There's
sure.
a whole bunch of these teams that are going to be just right around 500 when they play each other. And if they play each other, what, 17 times or 18 times or whatever it is in a season,
Uh-huh.
and you're coming out right there with 18 games against all of these opponents and you're just splitting them, it makes it really difficult to get a strong over category. Like we're going to talk in a day or two about the Dodgers, how they go over, or at least how they get to 100 wins. Whether they go over that or not is we'll talk
Sure.
about. But you don't see that dominant 100-win team that's just whooping everybody. They're all just beating up on each other, and it promotes an underbalance.
Yeah. Yeah, I I see good things around. This team's going to be weird, right? Like they don't
Yeah.
have a real stadium to play in. Like I honestly I haven't even looked up where they're going to play home games. But
Uh,
because with Tampa, the way that stadium that got destroyed was such a playing baseball in a warehouse. Like I I feel like the same way that I kind of crapped on Oakland
yeah.
last week for going like we're gonna go to Sacramento, we're gonna play in a college stadium or AAA stadium or whatever. I I kind of go this. it's kind of like points right at Tampa's thing, right? They go, we get young
Hmm.
guys, we play in a crappy stadium, nobody comes and watches us, and we just
Right.
truck along. And like every once in a while, the team composition works, and off we shoot. And in a year where I look at the lineups and the pitchers and go, where are we going to get some wins? Uh, this is one that I think they have the opportunity to comfortably skate over the 81 and a half wins personally.
So while you were asking, um, while you were talking about the Rays, I did go ahead and look up where they're going to play. They're going to play in Tampa proper at George Steinbrenner Field, which is the home of the Yankees for spring training. So they're going to
Okay.
play in the Yankee spring training facility for their home games this year.
Maybe that's easier to get to. Maybe some people that have been wanting to go to Tampa games and don't want to go across the bridge and into a like industrial park go, hey, if we're going to play in Tampa proper, there's actual people over here. Maybe some people will show up and watch the games. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just you know
Well, they
you
can go
know
buy a Yankees hat too. So
yeah. I mean, you got the AL East coming there half the time. You get fans from the other teams to come. And at least you have some noise going on, and not just
yeah.
be playing baseball in a Costco like they've done for the last 20 years. So,
Very true.
this is one
Very
that,
true.
jumps off the page to me to go, if I think, the Yankees are probably going to do well, but struggle a little bit, and I think the Orioles are going to take a step back, and I don't
Yep.
think the Red Sox are ready, then it really leaves me with going, these Rays, they're going to pick up some wins. They're going to find some of this young talent that they're always good at taking advantage of. And this seems like a depressed win total that we should be a flyover.
So, but I like your thoughts, but are you thinking the same thing then with the Blue Jays at 78? Because, when I look at my notes, I just think that Blue Jays have a little bit of talent, not a lot of depth, but listening to you talking about the top three and then potentially the Rays sneaking in and getting a few, are you thinking the Blue Jays could sneak in and get a few?
I don't feel like I have a good handle on the Blue Jays. What made me laugh was when you were like, "Hey, we're moving on." You said something right there at the beginning of the Tampa Bay thing, like it was the last team in the division, and it made me laugh because it was like, yeah, like nobody cares about Toronto, like other than Vlad. Like I love like he is so much fun to watch play baseball or hit at the very least.
Yeah.
Um, but I can't sit there and watch their whole games. Their team's just not like unless they get on a streak. Like obviously, any team that's on a streak is a blast to watch. But I I couldn't bring myself to take the over. Now,
No.
do I think that they're like a dead under? No, not necessarily. But I would definitely lean with you towards the under on them.
Okay. So I'm going to play devil's advocate for a minute. Mr. I like pitching.
Yeah,
What if I told you, though, that their starting rotation had four of the five guys in the top 100 power rankings for pitching in Major League Baseball, and the one guy
yeah,
who isn't is named Max Scherzer?
right. No, and I love Max. He's a St. Louis boy with all of us. But
That's a pretty
I just
good
look at
rotation when you think
it
about it. I mean,
is.
they don't have anybody in the top 20. I know that. They're just a bunch of average arms out there,
Sure.
but they've been around. All of them have been in the league for the most part more than 8 years. They're seasoned. They're not, I mean, they know how to throw. They all got this Greg Maddux. I mean, you look at Barrio, Gooseman, and Bassett are all guys that have been around. They know how to throw the junk. They go ice their arms. They give you the innings. Um, just interestingly enough, they all project out innings pitched at 190, 190, 170, and 157, with Scherzer being the lowest at 122. That's a lot of good innings in this division. That might be a factor.
It might. I just
I'm just playing
there's
devil's
certain
advocate.
teams that jump off the page to me that
Yeah,
go, um, when they get good pitching, they take advantage of it.
true.
And Toronto just does not have a long history of like, we take pitchers and make them better.
Correct.
You
And
know?
you don't have any inkling that when you're going into your first AL playoff series that you're going to go, okay, who are we writing down? Barrios or Ghostman? No, I mean that's not what you're doing. I get it, right? But for the
Sure.
long haul on the season, over 78 wins, I'm under because I just don't think they have the sticks. I think outside of Vlad and Bo Bichette and maybe George Springer, they just don't have the sticks. And they have nobody in the minors worth of crap. I just don't think they have any depth at all. But the pitching intrigues me to maybe keep them in games a little bit longer than we thought.
It is interesting. And it's a good collection of going,
Yeah,
we went and we found some guys and we brought them here and look, you know, I just I like seeing angry pitchers. Max
yeah,
just going like, I would bite this glove in half and throw the other half at you like
yeah.
every game by the fourth inning is j- a blast to watch. You just go at year 16, he's 40. So you just go, boy, I hope he makes it to the end of the season and his arm
I'm
holds
dis.
up and everything's good, but like,
I
it might
wish the
just not
Blue
work.
Jays and the Orioles were not in the same division because that's that guy that I'd love the Orioles to go get at the trade deadline.
Sure. If he's
And
healthy,
go if he's healthy
if
because
he
that's
makes it
the
to the
kind of
trade deadline,
guy
yeah.
that pushes that young team over, gives them a little spit and gravel in their guts.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the kind of guy that could make a difference. And if I was the O's, I would have been targeting him in the offseason significantly because I don't care what he costs from a dollar perspective. That fire that he brings is worth every penny to teach these young guys how to play ball for the next 15 years.
Yeah. It's such a long season, and you got to have some guys that go, I've done it before. This is how you do it, and the this is how we do it is we work hard and we're angry and we attack the other
Yeah,
team. And
absolutely.
he has spent his career doing that, and hopefully that pushes some of these other guys that are veterans but have not been around as long as him and don't really have any accolades to their name as far as you know winning championships or getting Cy Youngs, and maybe he elevates the whole. Maybe he's the guy that helps
Yeah.
push the pitching staff ahead. But I think that when you go, hey, we're going to go with this 78 and a half thing, and you look at the rest of the collection and the opportunity for like literally all four of those guys could get hurt at
Oh
their
yeah.
ages, and then you just have a bunch of dudes from AAA, and maybe they try to trade for somebody, and then you're playing t-ball out there.
Well, good. You like the under, so we're good.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on
We
the
agree.
under for sure. Yeah,
All right. Well, hey, that's our thoughts on the AL East. You got a little bit of specifics, you got a little bit of nonsensical banter, but that's what you're going to get out of the St. Louis Syndicate. Hope you guys had a good time. If
always.
nothing else, hopefully you're entertained. Good luck with your picks, fellas.
Cheers.